This is the time of year we're aware of cold and flu germs that are being passed around. But did you know that family pets can also pick up certain germs and diseases that can then be transmitted to their human companions? Locally based veterinarian Dr. Danielle Spencer David is here to talk about one of those illnesses. It's called Campylobacter. It can make pets very ill and it can be passed on to you. Good morning, doctor. Good to see you.
Good morning.
This bacterial illness is a mouthful, Campylobacter.
Yes.
Explain it.
And there are many different species, of course. However, many times pets can get the condition from either being in unsanitary conditions. And the reason we recently had an outbreak of Campylobacter in a lot of the pet stores, kind of in the Midwest area. And it is one of those diseases that can transfer to humans, as you mentioned. So we want to definitely, get control of it.
So what are the symptoms we're looking for in our pets?
In your pets, they'll primarily have diarrhea. That's going to be the first thing. Mm-hmm. There can also be blood in the stool as well. They're very listless. And also they're looking at their rear ends a lot. General discomfort.
So is there itching for them?
Right. And it's just general discomfort because of the diarrhea.
And because this can be passed to humans, if our pet has these symptoms, we have to be very careful cleaning up after them.
Absolutely. And many times I know it's inconvenient to use gloves, but especially if you know your pet is ill and having these symptoms, it's always better if you can use gloves when cleaning up the poop and, of course, disposing of it in an area where the pet won't go into the garbage, for instance. Or sometimes you can even just make sure you have a little wee-wee pad, and they can go on there and you can easily dispose of it then too.
So something you definitely want to be able to clean up and get out of the way.
Exactly.
So what happens if you do get this? What are the symptoms in the humans?
Well, we would have the same symptoms. We would have diarrhea with blood in it. And many times, at least in human medicine, I'm sure that they culture stool. In veterinary medicine, we don't necessarily always culture the stool. We'll usually treat for the symptoms, but it is actually fairly common. And another thing, they can also get this particular bacteria from uncooked poultry.
So we don't want to give our pets raw chicken.
Yeah.
Or anything that's close to raw chicken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what are the treatments for this? How dangerous is it if you get this? I mean, other than you get diarrhea, you get dehydration.
Exactly. And it's especially dangerous for the puppies or any of the animals that are less than a year old because their immune system, of course, is still very young. So it actually can sometimes cause severe dehydration. So it's always better to get them in sooner than later so that they can be treated and they can get some fluids if they're dehydrated as well.
And the treatment is antibiotics?
Antibiotics. And usually, like I said, they may actually culture the stool, and a lot of times there are veterinarians in the office who can actually look under the microscope and identify it that way. But primarily we'll treat with some antibiotics and possibly something to coat the stomach as well.
Now you were telling me that you've never actually treated an animal that had this illness.
Right, because a lot of times when pets come in and they have the diarrhea, veterinarians will just do an antibiotic treatment as opposed to culturing it, which will take a couple of days, and you don't want the animal to suffer for those 3 days. And also the testing is fairly expensive as well, so owners sometimes will opt to just treat as opposed to doing a culture. But it's very possible that they could have had it and we just didn't know.
Right. And you mentioned the raw chicken, but are there any other things that can expose our pets to this?
Other than going to doggy parks, and we know that there are some dog owners that go to the doggy parks and they let their dogs eliminate and they don't pick it up. So that's primarily the way that they will get the Campylobacter. However, any type of uncooked meat will cause it, but usually it's from either stepping in the stool or ingesting it some other means.
And because it can be transmitted to humans, wearing gloves is very important if you think your pet has this, but also your personal hygiene. You definitely want to wash your hands.
Yeah, definitely. And you cannot wash your hands enough. And also, if you have any hand sanitizer, I mean, that can do okay until you're able to get to possibly a sink. But you definitely want to wash your hands all the time after handling your pet. And also, as much as we love our pets, we don't want them licking our mouths, which I know I'm guilty of, but licking our mouths, and especially with children, because we don't want it to pass to our kids.
And just generally speaking, not necessarily if they have the illness. All right. Well, thank you. I learned something new today. I'd heard the term, but I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Thank you, doctor, for coming in today.
Thanks.
And if you have a pet, it's always good to stay educated about issues that can affect your health, and in this case, yours too. Thank you so much.